Hi, my name is Linda. I've been wanting to make this video for a long time, but now with the election coming, I'm very concerned about if Governor Romney gets in office and immediately destroys the health care. I have a pre-existing illness. I originally got sick from water damage, indoor mold, about 15 years ago. And I have written and called from every level to the lowest level to the highest level for many, many times. Written to Oprah, Anderson Cooper, all the local news, and many other people. Many times we got together and wrote, like everybody would write to Oprah, and but we would never hear anything. And I suspect one of the problems is the sponsors, uh, or whoever knows if these people ever get the letters. Some when you write to your leaders, I have many letters from my senators and that have responded, and it's really they don't ever do anything. Uh, I one time talked to Senator Kennedy's office, and they said as long as the Republicans were in office, that our products would never be regulated. That seems to be another problem that many of us that get sick from indoor mold wind up being very sensitive to everyday products. That could be baby shampoos, lotions, soaps, detergents, dryer exhaust, cleaning products, cooking odors. It just goes on and on. Some people are worse than others. There are many that are bedridden. They're getting younger now. I know one boy actually in Canada who has vomited for 4 years every day, and he can't seem to get any help. Although he does get a lot of tests, but they aren't allowed to treat you for indoor mold, from what I understand. But anyway, uh, air pollution causes about 50% of illnesses globally, and that's more than heart disease or cancer, and there is nothing for us. Um, Mostly I try to get awareness out there, but I have friends from all over the world, and it's very sad. So many people sick. Many of them get cancer, multiple sclerosis, and other problems. But just to be able to breathe and not get migraines, and I can't tell you how many times I've had migraines just from being around something that I couldn't handle, and then vomited for 14 hours, and it is so hard. And you go to a relative's house and that happens, and then you're afraid to go back. And but anyway, one problem is that with the indoor mold thing, uh, I have allegedly heard that there's some courts involved, like in California. I know one girl that actually they won a gag order because she has tried to tell a lot of stuff, and they actually did put her in jail for a couple days. But I don't want to get into that. What I want to get into is first, it's the indoor mold problem, and then also our products are not regulated. So that means that a company can set up business and put whatever they want into soap, detergent, or whatever. And with this day and age, with the terrorists and all that stuff, I can't even imagine that this is able to happen. But they have their trade secret protection, and even the EPA does not have the authority to know what's in these products. And that's when they introduced legislation in 2011, the Safe Chemicals Act of 2011. But of course, and I've listened to the hearings, and our leaders admit that they have no idea what's in our products. And in the 70s, they were supposed to start doing something, but they never did. And you have your chemical companies there, and the leaders and EPA, and uh, nothing ever gets done. I mean, legislation did pass halfway, and I forget if it's the House or Senate, which one, but it didn't. They didn't introduce it. They didn't take a vote on the, second part. And apparently, I heard that they went home and for this election, and so I guess this legislation will just wait until after the election, and then more. But there's a lot of money involved, millions of dollars these lobbyists have spent, and it's pretty scary to know that these companies, and it's not all of them, but they're running our election, and then also they can put whatever they want into these products. And the other thing is the jobs, that people that do have jobs are getting very low pay. My husband worked for a very large, one of the largest companies, and he didn't get raises the whole 4 years, and they were very busy. He wound up losing his job when they had a fire and there was water damage, and they still had to work in that office when they were ripping out walls and no air conditioning and 115 heat index. But I'm not going to get into that. But anyway, I'm very afraid that with Romney wins, if that happens, that he will just get rid of this pre-existing, well, he will get rid of the health care. And I've already waited so long to be able to go to the doctors, to be able to go to a dentist. I have an adult child who has never even had a cavity yet. And I take such good care of my teeth, but, it's just too expensive. It's too expensive to get this medical care if you get fungal disease. Some people, the insurance will cover, but some doctors, they charge $10,000. But anyway, most doctors don't know about it. It's pretty scary. So I wanted to make this video plain that I hope President Obama wins. I mean, really both sides I haven't been very happy with, but I know at least President Obama seems to care, and for people in my illness and not getting medical care, the whole job situation, I don't know what's going to happen, but I am tired of vomiting when I get exposed to something that I have no control over, and I can't imagine that this is allowed. I mean, like Johnson and Johnson, they have their baby shampoo, and it came out that there's a formaldehyde in this shampoo. And the European Union, they have started regulating their products. In fact, I read the REACH project when the Bush administration would write letters to other countries trying to get them not to regulate, and said that, the economy would be destroyed and all that. But just because they had their trade secrets, I don't understand why these companies just put whatever they wanted. Like the word fragrance can be hundreds of chemicals, unknown chemicals, and you hurt from your head to your chest to your muscles, and basically I can be pretty good if I'm not around that stuff. But I have to constantly monitor my windows from dryer exhaust coming in. Right now there's some kind of odor, and it always goes to my bathroom when people cook. And I haven't driven for 10 years. And that has to do with the situation when I was living in a home that had indoor mold. But I've had indoor mold in 3 homes, and that was back when I first became ill. I was always very strong. All of a sudden I got very weak one spring, I started getting chest pain and head pain, and it was every time we turned the air conditioner on. And that year they gave me an antibiotic, and I seemed to be okay for the winter. And I was going to school 2 times a week and bowling, and I was very involved in my daughter's school. She was gifted. And then following spring, the same thing happened. Like I would hang washout and I couldn't even lift my arms. I was so weak. And this next time they gave me a stronger antibiotic, and I took the whole prescription. But then I had this severe urticaria that's like I looked like I was 100 years old. This allergic reaction took over my body, and I had to go to the hospital. And they, gave me injections and got me out of it. And as a matter of fact, I had a physical a couple of days later, and it was okay except for my white blood count was elevated. It always seemed to be elevated, and nothing was really done about it. I went to the asthma doctor, and so then after I had this reaction, and then my physical that night, I started getting the allergic reaction started coming back, and I had to go to the hospital again. And then they told me better get to an allergist immediately. And this doctor treated me, and I was able to get out of the emergency, and he treated me for several months, and with all these medications, inhalers. And then I had a CAT scan, and all of my sinuses were infected. And all this time, when I had reported, had the health department come, and they found indoor mold in the house, and I told the landlord, and they did nothing. And this was like in June, somewhere around 1998. And I think it was finally December when they came to the house, and they decided to remove wallpaper and paint, which was the worst thing you could have done with molds in the house. And I really didn't know much about it. I was nervous about it. We cornered off a room, and this went on, the painting and all, for about a month. They would come after work, the sons of this landlord. And at one point, my CAT scan, after I was seeing this doctor, an ENT at this point, there was some improvement. But then after they were done painting, I had to get sinus surgery. And then they told us, when I told them I had to get sinus surgery, they just said, well, you'll have to be out in 6 weeks. I had not re-signed my lease because I wanted them to fix this problem. And apparently when you don't have a lease, they can just give you a certain amount of time and you have to get out. So I had to have my sinus surgery, and knowing that I didn't know where I was going to go, and at the same time I was trying to pick a school for my daughter was going into high school, and it just seemed like I had no rights. I contacted many organizations, my leaders, and I was on my own. And it almost sounds like it's not much better now. I mean, at least in my state, they do inspections on rental properties periodically, but I know people still that are, you're thrown into this, what do you do? Even so, the companies, there's an organization that where schools, if they have mold, they contact the American College of Environmental Medicine. I believe that's one of the places. And they're not giving out the proper information. They act like only people that are weak and sick can have any problems, and that's not true. I know so many people that were very healthy. I've listened in on EPA hearings, and they know very well about this. They talked about when they are doing work that no one is to be in the building when there has been some kind of water damage. Um, when Katrina happened, many people were trying to warn them down there. As a matter of fact, the governor at the time had just had the governor's mansion remediated, and they had spent millions of dollars. There have been several governor's mansions that have had indoor mold, and they've spent millions of dollars. Even Bush in the 90s had it in the governor's mansion. But for the average person, not much help. And I really don't even know if the remediation works. I would be a little afraid, especially like in Katrina. But even when the 911 situation was going on, there was people down there trying to tell them that they weren't wearing enough gear because of all the chemicals, and of course they wound up getting very ill. And I think finally now they're starting to give them medical care for the poor fire men that got sick, and many have died. uh, there's been judges that have died in courthouses. um, there is an organization that I'm a member of. I guess I won't mention it because I don't know if it's okay. But it's scientists and researchers and doctors and the sick. And they have put out research papers and sent them all out, press releases. But still, not much has been done to make the private sector aware of how really dangerous this is. Usually, the worst molds are the ones where, like roofs, where there's water gets wet and then dry, wet and dry. And I even at one point when I was living I was at the first house, and I moved out, and I actually, oh, when I moved, I went to a second place, and it was during a drought, and I was only there for 3 months. And one night it rained, and the carpet got wet, and we lifted the carpet up, and it was all black. And then there was a spot on the wall, this black spot, and I went to the office, and they cut a hole out, and all of the insulation was black. It took several months before we moved, and we actually wound up moving on the second floor, but they never did anything to the first floor. And then when it came time for me to sign the new lease, I was afraid because nothing was done. So I had called the health department again, and they wouldn't do any sampling or do anything. The company was very powerful that owned this apartment complex. So I got the samples myself. And I went to the first house and knocked on the door, and I asked them if they minded if I came in and took a sample. And I took samples and sent them off to this lab. And the most dangerous Stachybotrys was in that first house, and it was still the same. They hadn't done anything. Many molds. The second place, many molds, aspergillus, which is very dangerous. So I just wanted to make this tape. I'm not going to, go on much longer because I don't know how long you can do this, but I will make more. And I want to thank you for listening, and I sure hope that we will be okay because I am tired of seeing people suffer. Thank you very much for your time. Bye.